Hello, hi, I'm Kimberly Anthony, and my co-host Erlinda Patterson is not here today, but she's out of town, but I will be hosting Essence Table Talk today with three wonderful people here. I will introduce you. First, we have Dr. Senior Pastor Michael Andrew Owens of New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. And also we have Curtis Washington, and he is a member of Greater Faith Grace Bible Church.
Yep.
Yes, in Rialto.
Yes.
Rialto, right? And we have our wonderful, dynamic Danielle Hobbs. She is an educator. She is a entrepreneur. She is a performer. She is a singer and actress, and we're just glad to have her here with us today. So we're just going to be talking, just general conversation, and well, just thank you guys for being here. And also, Danielle, thank you. It's your birthday. Thank you so much for sharing your birthday with us this morning. Appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
But we're just going to have a general conversation about things that's going on in the community and things like that. So first, I'll just talk with Pastor. You're being a pastor. I know it's so exciting, So, and I know you're from the East Coast. And so I just tell me a little bit about being a pastor. How did you get started? How was your beginnings?
Oh my God, it's a 35-year journey actually. As you say, I'm from the East Coast, little town called Chester, Pennsylvania, about 20 minutes south of our big brother, Philadelphia, city of brotherly love.
Brotherly love.
They get all the press, but Chester is probably known for shipbuilding, Scott Paper Company, and a few notables who have come out and made a name for themselves. I call it my Nazareth. Because you really wouldn't know anything about it if you didn't interview somebody like me. So I got started in Chester, had my first church in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, my second charge in Detroit, Michigan, and I've only been here 5 years. And what they say about favor ain't fair is the truth. Because I've been soaking up all this sunshine and having a great time here on the West Coast.
Wonderful.
But I'm really impressed with the diversity here, the opportunity to see so much in terms of the landscape and places to see that you only imagine on the East Coast.
Right.
And the church life is vibrant. I've come to an historic African-American congregation that's over 100 years old.
Yes, praise God,
and
amen
so
to
it's
that.
always exciting because it's full of persons who've been around quite a while and have a lot of stories to tell, and a younger generation that's in awe of them. So I've been enjoying the stay. I'm still trying to claim newness,
Right,
but I think after 5 years they believe it's starting to wear off. So I'm appreciating the time. Good to be here with those of you who are California born and California bred.
Thank you.
I'm sure you have a lot to clue me in on.
I'm at the mental health task force with the behavioral health ministries with some of your people from your congregation, Beverly Wright.
Excellent,
so I sit
right.
next to it.
Community liaison.
Yes, absolutely. So we do a lot in the community. So you're very popular in the community. So I thank you for all your service that you're doing. Very good. So, and now, Sarah, I'm going to go to here, Curtis Washington. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing with the community, your mentorship with the men.
Well, okay, yeah. Like I said, Curtis Washington. I'm originally from Atlanta.
Okay.
I've been out here, had to fit in, and it's been a good fit. Just went to high school out here and everything by way of military. I found myself out in the Empire, and I got attached and hooked up with Greater Faith Grace Bible Church. Great ride, and there we've had opportunities. It's one of those small churches, but it has a lot of talent coming out of there, and you wouldn't believe. We have a men's breakfast, and while we try to mentor our younger men, adults.
Yes.
But it starts with the men, and then men learning how to talk simply as men, and that's how we have it. Of course, God is mixed up in everything we do.
Absolutely.
But we've come to a place where we can talk and express the same things that happen universally around the world as men's health. How do you talk to my wife?
Yes.
So how do I talk to my own wife? among men because we're finding out that although we have many backgrounds, we all have the same issues.
Absolutely.
And we want to we try to take those issues and send it down to our younger men. So when we have our women in the room and our sisters and our queens, so we can start right there. How do we respect them? And we're finding it through God, through family. We're having a good time with it.
So it comes from home, right? Comes from
It
home.
starts at the
It starts
beginning.
at the beginning, the roots. Awesome. Thank you. And Danielle, tell me a little bit about yourself, your nonprofit.
Yes, so I'm Danielle Hobbs, and I come from San Bernardino. I'm a native of San Bernardino, California. And my parents were really huge advocates of the community, community liaison. My late father was the great John D. Hobbs, who was city councilman, and my mother was a high school educator and retired communications and counselor at Eisenhower, Mary Saxon Hobbs. So I grew up always being a person that knew no matter what, I came from a family of excellence, and
Right.
when you grow up from a family like that, you're going to find your voice in something, and mine was the performing arts.
Yes.
So I grew
Yes.
up dancing. I moved into graduating with my BA in dance at like 19 years old from Cal State Long Beach. Garnered a great professional dance career, choreographing artists like Beyonce, Shakira, working with Cirque du Soleil, with Michael
Wonderful.
Jackson Estate, Michael Jackson Immortal World Tour, and writing some books that were all about being an advocate for the arts. And so through that, I developed Dream It, Do It, Danny Girl,
Oh, okay.
which is a nonprofit as well as an
yes.
online store where I develop content through by way of children's books. It was children's books first because
Right,
I wanted
right,
there to be some
right.
representation of us, whether you were African American or mixed.
So one of your children's
And
books is
Swimming Over
Swimming
Castles.
Over
It's my
Castles.
first book, and I'm really happy about that.
Wonderful.
I'll tell you more about that, but through books, content, movies, and dance workshops. And I teach and give back to the community by giving a big, zesty meal of arts leadership and awareness for our youth, which I believe our community needs now that we're out of COVID.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And one of the things that's going on in the community too, we're there's so much violence in the world right now, and it's just every time you turn television on, it's something else, somebody else, another mass killing, something.
Yes.
And self-care is so important, and mental health with all these things. And sometimes you don't even want to watch television; it gets so bad. So, what do you think, Pastor? What do you think about self-care? What can, as a congregation, community, what can we do with our mental part of that, helping us with?
Well, I think so. The real what's really important about self-care is that it not be selfish
Yes.
or self-centered,
Okay.
because it's probably going to take more than yourself to help you out of whatever gloom you've found yourself in.
Yeah.
It's going to take somebody in the light and enlightened. It's going to take somebody optimistic and hopeful to get on the tapes in your own mind and your own spirit to have you see more than you're seeing
Yes.
when the darkness comes.
Right,
So
right.
being helped out of darkness into light usually means that just like people you have at this table, the good Reverend here in men's ministry and Danielle in the arts, you need a lot of help when you've gone to the dark side to come back to a hopeful spirit and your best self. So rather than get turned in, isolated, off to yourself, at the church we invite you to come in. That's what ministries are about, meeting needs and people helping people. So if you find you need that much help because you're down in the dumps, depressed, God forbid, thinking of doing harm to yourself, that's the time to reach out to somebody, send up a flare and say, I
Right.
need you, and I'm sure someone will respond.
Absolutely. And I know the men's ministry, I'm sure you guys do a lot of that, helping at the.
I'm not sure what we do a lot of that, but what we try to do is, just like the pastor just said, we're finding that we ourselves need to step up. I'll just kind of share like a bipolar moment with somebody I know, and we hear it, then sometimes we want to look away, especially if it's not in your immediate family. But a lot of times, I use my case. I don't know what bipolar is, and it's happening, and I don't care to find out because I'm thinking from a historical standpoint. Well, we've always had bipolar men and women in our communities, but the fact is, not true. But they still need help, and then if you don't reach across the table, or somebody to say, "No, I don't know what that is, but I'd love to help you."
Yes.
I think that's a part of self-care because
Absolutely.
I can only speak for myself because I see it rampant. Maybe rampant is not the word, but I see it in my family on different
More
levels.
frequently than other people.
Right, and we have to
Yes.
learn how to talk about it so
Right.
we can
Yes.
recognize. I think so. We have to learn how to talk about it so we
I
can
think
recognize it.
that's one of the problems. People don't talk about it. They kind of put it underneath in a closet somewhere and don't want to deal with it. And they think, if doing that is just going to go away. It's not going to go away. Yeah.
No.
So.
And I think a lot of times it probably comes from our own cultural perspectives. Technology is running rampant so fast, but we're still very traditional at our core. I grew up in the church. So I've been around the world and seen where people want to put you at, oh, you're an artist, we're all manic depressants. No, we're not. We have a lot of energy. You know what I mean? We wake people up when we get on stage, hopefully.
Yes.
But in the world of the arts, there has been a lot of triggers of that stimulation that happens with your pineal gland and your endorphins, and even spiritually, it's nonverbal communication.
And I'm sure dancing, can help.
Yes.
With a lot of that.
But the awareness of that is
Yes.
where it really is a true natural occurrence of being self-aware
Self-aware.
of your conditions. And when you're self-aware, you're more confident to articulate when you might mentally or be antisocial or have some type of discomfort because you're aware of your surroundings because of the movement aspect.
Right.
Which got kind of put under the rug, so then people don't really know how to talk to each other because we have these devices.
Social media.
And it's ironic, but the same endorphins are triggered in the arts and in medicine and in social media, in our devices. But they're triggered differently. So an endorphin from a dance class or going to church, you feel enlightened, right? Or you feel good, you feel like you can conquer anything. But the endorphin triggerment from like sitting for a long time behind your device on social media, same endorphin, total different trigger. Now you're antisocial. Now we've forgotten how to communicate our needs.
Right. So so social media is pretty big thing. I know, Pastor, you probably recognize a lot in church. People on their cell phones a lot, and so I don't know. What do you think social media is? How do you think the children, it's going to help our youth in the future? What do you think the future of our youth with all the social media?
Well,
Some of
right
it's good,
now
some of it's bad. It's not,
Yeah, I'm thinking about AI myself. We're right on top of it.
Yeah, and it's coming. It's coming.
It's here.
And
Pretty
I have
much.
some
Pretty
students that are really into it. They also are able, even though they're just 8th graders, they're able to see the thin line and not let it replace
Right, kids are very intelligent.
their creativity.
Their
Very.
creativity.
Yeah.
Well, there's a very clear indicator that a new day is coming.
Absolutely.
Right across from the church.
For sure.
Right across from New Hope is Community Medical Center.
Yes.
And they have a robot out in front of.
Oh, yes.
It looks
Yes.
like R2D2.
I almost ran into it a few times.
A couple times, yeah.
When I first saw that, I was like, what in the world is this? But you're so right. It just roams around the parking lot.
They probably use it for security, for information gathering. We
Right.
just had a balloon flying over the country
Yes,
collecting
right?
information.
Yes.
So you see R2D2 running around the house, you better straighten up.
Right.
These are parking
That is so
robots.
But it
true.
ought to tell our young people that there's going to be a lot more emphasis on science and technology in their
Yes.
education, and that they need to buckle down early because there's nothing more competitive than those areas of education and job seeking. It's going to be very competitive, and what you bring with you in terms of those specialized skills is going to be very important. So we have to get our young people acclimated to the testing, to the system, to best ways to access the opportunities, the scholarships, the what have you, give them the best chance possible to succeed.
Right. That's so true. So we were talking about how some of the schools, on the last show, some of the schools, they don't have, a lot of children, they don't have the Wi-Fi and the network that they need to succeed. So that's very important. We need to tell them, but we also need to provide them with the resources so they can do it, the correct way with social media.
Yeah, that is true. Working at a couple of different school sites, I have noticed that some demographics that are impoverished may not have the materials of Wi-Fi.
They give them
However,
computers. They have computers are fine at the school, but once they leave the schools,
Get home.
you get home. Yeah.
But it's also guiding them, like the pastor said, in what you are going to be looking at on the internet. A lot of these kids that have, I teach for a virtual school, so a lot of them have learned how to go to other things than their schoolwork, and this social media addiction as well as video game addiction, and they can crack into coding, which naturally, if you can crack into coding, then you probably can code.
Right.
Probably
But
good
it
at
just
all
hasn't
that.
connected yet. And it's really interesting because it's going to take more guidance in the way that they do technology, more than just giving it to them.
Correct, yeah.
To fill some space and parenting, and you got every gadget, but you cannot imagine what you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah.
I think there's a disconnect there.
That's for sure. Because you still have to look at, you have to ask what role does each individual play, the parents. Because, with these gadgets today, most of the young people think they're out in front of the parents, which is not true. But then how's it going to generate down to the schools, and how do we demand that as citizens and parents for the next generations? Because if we got kids that are coming up that are more technologically advanced than we are, how do we even catch up and help them? And then how do we even demand the things, like you say, you go home, you can't get a computer, you can do it all day. However, you go home with your computer and you play that race car game or that shooting game or something else, which to me, I'm sorry to say it like that, but which to me goes right back to a mental health thing. I can get recognized here and I can do it here, but where's my esteem when I get home?
Right.
And how do my parents even help? I mean, it's a different thing today.
You lose your social skills.
You have to go back to school to keep up with your kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Social skills is very important because you can't replace the importance of being a good communicator in person.
Right.
It's too easy to hide behind the technology and become invisible. But the persons that we elect to office are going to be good communicators. They're going to be out front. People who are in the boardrooms making decisions that affect other people's lives, their good and their welfare, are going to be communicators in person. And it's be much too easy for our young people to hide behind their technology and become invisible and not be able to make the kind of mark that's necessary to change the world, really.
Exactly. And like I said, with all the violence that's going on in the country, and you don't know, what's going on. You don't know what they watched before they did what they did. There's so much going on. And I totally agree with that. So, yeah.
As a mental health physician, our children are more prevalent to depression and anxiety. It's saying now that their checkups are going to be not just like, and hit your elbow, but depression and anxiety at 12 years old. This is because of post-COVID.
Post-COVID, yeah.
But I also believe that some of it is also the mental food that we are being fed as a society, because we aren't, and I'm not talking about just grapes and apples.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when we look at today's media technology and culturally across America, it devastates me to know that like a place like China will make up a TikTok, but then not allow their culture to watch it or be a part of it, but give it to America. Yeah. And American kids, and TikTok is fun. It has some great aspects. But when it comes to the dark
You can learn
web,
a lot of things on
yeah,
TikTok.
you can learn how to dance.
That's right.
Well, when it comes to the
Cooking.
dark side of social media,
There's a dark
know
side.
that
Dark side to
there is
everything.
so much mental food that we're ingesting constantly, that is just putting so much on top of the self-esteem of our kids.
Absolutely.
That now I'm not
And with
surprised
dance, they
when
can
get to
and dancing and performing arts
get
will
it
give
out
them
and
a chance
express
to,
it.
Right, exactly.
See, there was only an outlet of the arts, drawing, playing an instrument, and growing up with people that were like, while everyone was getting Air Jordans in the next video game, my parents bought me a guitar and said, "You need to learn how to play this."
Yeah.
It's like simple things like that, little changes in behavior, not only with parenting, but also with just the community. What is your community ingesting in the youth? I think will make such a difference.
Well, that's why, it's so important to have the men's ministries and women's ministries, and we're just helping us to mentor the young people. And I know New Hope has a great youth ministry.
Well, we have the youth ministry, and of course, there's men's ministry with the laymen, women's ministry with the missions. But you always, as a pastor, look for what's going to bridge the generational divide.
Correct.
Or the gender divide. And we found that arts does that. So we had dance, we had dancers that were dancing, we had choirs that were singing, but we formed what we call CHARM, which is an acronym for Christian Arts Ministries, to bring it all together.
Very nice.
To bring
CHARM.
the generations and the genders together, and have had a very fruitful and productive response. We found that the middle-aged and seniors like the drama as well as the young people.
Right, that's true.
And,
That's true.
Yes, right.
We all like
Bring them all together.
to watch the interpretive dance, but you get beyond the teenagers, you find young adults still got some moves too.
Right,
Right.
absolutely. Don't we?
I remember parents coming together and doing a piece and showing that they still have it. So
Right.
I think what Danielle is doing with her arts and the various interests that she has, that it leads toward generational divide where more people end up working together.
Right.
And whatever you can create, that creates a sense of peace and positive outlook on the world once you come together. Because you leave the sanctuary, you're back into the
real world.
into the real world. The 6 o'clock news, the first thing in the morning
CNN.
killings and what have you. When you
Yes,
come into
yes.
that sanctuary, it ought to be something truly inspiring for everybody at the same time.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to separate and isolate in order to enjoy something that's just for you. There could be something that crosses the lines and be a blessing to everybody at the same time. I mean, that is what family is. Isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to bring the families back together.
Yes.
That's a great way of doing it.
Yeah.
And,
No, please.
oh, go ahead.
No, so usually I have on my pen and pencil pad taking notes.
Well,
try to fill up on this.
I am a member of New Hope, and,
Yes.
and Dr. Owens is my pastor.
Absolutely.
And the thing about New Hope is that, I mean, I was christened there, I was baptized there. It's a funny Jesus story. I grew up in a Christian school, and I had those Bible stories that were like graphic organizers. So I saw the graphic organizer of the dove coming down for Jesus. So when I was little, I wanted that to happen to me. So I kept asking to get baptized till it would come in. Anyway, my mom and dad shut it down. Was like, "You got baptized last month. Chill out." But I just wanted that dove to come. Anywho, growing up in New Hope, it is so prevalent that we always come back.
Oh, it's wonderful.
We always now I sing in the choir now, even though I grew up dancing.
Right.
But Reverend Veronica Martindale, she's
wonderful.
taught me
I love her,
how.
yes,
She was my babysitter growing up, and she went into LA and she did the arts and whatnot, and now she's back at New Hope heading the dance troupe Unspeakable Praise.
Yes.
And so it's interesting how when the arts was taken out of schools, it stayed in the church.
It stayed in the church. They couldn't take it out of
God kept
churches.
it where
Absolutely.
it needed to be.
Where it needs to be. Amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a lot of artists sometimes that come in and have been through something. Maybe their father was killed or something like that, and they start dancing up under
great way to
Reverend
express
Veronica, and they get healing.
Yes. Yes.
They get healing. And I've always known that dance was a healing. It's always been a part of my healing, you know, from my makeup growing up.
Yeah.
But a lot of people really, they find the value because they find out that it does help
does
people
heal.
hold each other's
Absolutely.
hand
That's
and
awesome.
heal people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. We're going to be right back with you. We're going to take a short break, and we're back with you in a minute. Thank you.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Okay, here we go, throw it! Yeah.
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Nice.
Hi, welcome back. We're back with Essence Table Talk, and we're our wonderful guests here, and we're going to continue talking about great, wonderful topics that we've been talking about so far. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you, Pastor, is about Martin Luther King. This is Black History Month, and this is so many events going on right now. I know I'm giving you guys a chance to talk about your wonderful events that are coming up, but I want to talk about your experience about when you saw Martin Luther King at your church when you were a young man.
Well, I wasn't quite old enough to have seen him at my church. I grew up, I started preaching at 15, and I was at Bethany Baptist Church, which was the church on the hill. The church that was closer to the river, Delaware River, was Calvary Baptist Church. And I joined that church under a younger pastor who was only 25 years old. But the pastor he was succeeding was J. Pius Barber. And folk who've been around a long time will remember him as one of the venerable luminaries in our tradition. And he pastored Calvary Baptist Church when Martin Luther King was sent there by his father for his theological training at Crozier Chester Medical Center. So in a sense, Martin Luther King helped put my Nazareth on the map by his mentorship with Dr. Barber at Calvary Baptist Church. So when I got there, of course, Martin Luther King had passed on for quite a while. But there's a post with a sign on top that commemorates him being there for his theological training and mentorship. and J. Pius Barber is buried right there on the side of the church.
Wow.
So you have Martin Luther King and J. Pius Barber when you come to
That's-
Calvary.
that's
in
history
Chester.
right
But
there. That's Black history.
It gives me common roots because
Absolutely.
I preached in the same pulpit he did during that
Wow,
time.
that's awesome.
Nice.
I often tell my colleagues the floorboards still creak
Uh-huh.
in that
That's
rostrum. So when you stand there and you're preaching up under your feet, you can feel you can feel
Wow.
the
Yeah.
boards going in and the creaking coming to you in your ear. And I just think about that probably was the same thing for Martin. And he
Right.
just preached on through it.
Yeah.
And it's quite a tale. So when I first came here, I had the opportunity to speak at the Martin Luther King breakfast because
that was
the big
special.
shot they sent for couldn't make it. And,
I remember. I do remember that one. I think I've attended most of the Martin Luther King breakfast,
Yeah.
and I do remember that.
It was quite a debut.
It was
into the
awesome. That
community.
was very
There
good.
had to be 700 to 800 people there. That was when it was at Cal State before.
Yes,
COVID.
it was
And,
huge.
Wow.
There were
it
a
was
lot of people there. That one. Yes,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's great. This is Black history. So that is Black history. At its best.
That is
Thank you
best.
so
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
so much for that. And so another thing that I was thinking about, because of the what's going on in our communities, how you have a food ministry that you have at your church?
Wow. Yes, we have a food ministry that can't be stopped. This is a
Tell us
true
about
story. Yesterday, a few days ago, we have these refrigerators that keep on getting stocked.
Oh,
so
awesome. That's
we
God.
gave away everything we could. And then yesterday I found myself saying, "Look what he's done again." I mean, we feel just like it's one of those things. Greater Faith Grace Bible Church has had a food ministry for about 15 years or more, but sometimes things need to change, and we kind of revived it. And I remember our first food basket. When we was right there, we got fresh fruits, but they kind of wilted, and it didn't look like. And we said to ourselves, "Would you put that on your table?" It was our first thing, so we all said yes, right? But now, I wish I had something to picture. It's so tremendous. You can't stop it if you wanted to. God just what's the thing we cannot
Right,
give God.
Right. Yes.
And so
yes,
we, the men and the women's ministry, which is great volunteers, we just pour into it, and it's off the charts. We the thing when we restarted was from our church, from Sycamore and Randall. The dream was to get it all the way to Riverside and back the traffic up, just feeding people. So we feed about 110 people a week
Oh, that's a lot.
on daily
That's a
with
lot.
fresh vegetables, canned goods, milk. When the other things go in, cheese, meats. And it's always incredible to me. And sometimes my thing is when I'm putting these boxes in the car, I'm like, man, I should have put that in my car because it looks that good.
Right,
Not that we needed or wanted,
Right.
but it looks that good. But it's a ministry that cannot it can only be stopped by God, and I don't think He has no plan on stopping it. So.
Right, right. So tell me about the homeless population that you guys feed.
I can't be sure about the homeless population that we actually feed, but we also have another ministry, which is our homeless ministry.
Oh, okay. Tell us about that.
And we go out to serve. It doesn't matter where. We know in our communities now, all you do is cross the street. You could be in a homeless population.
Yes.
So what we try to do on a consistent basis is go out. And one of the beautiful things is from our food ministry, we use the same things that we're getting. We might get some soups or whatever, but we get together and we go out and we pair with people who are providing phones and tennis shoes.
Oh, yes.
And
yes,
we
yes.
go out and we try to pair with them. But our message lately has been, hey, you want to bring that coat? That's fine. But are you passing anybody you see that might need that coat? We want you to bring it, but if you're on our team, just be considerate and ask the people who really need it before you get it to church. It can be kind of scary sometimes, but we understand that. But however, we ask people to do that. But all the food, we try to transfer as much food we can to any homeless. Like today, our commitment is put 3 bags that we can give to homeless in your car and give them away that week.
Oh,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
a great idea.
It's only about 8 of us on that commission,
Right,
but it's like, 3 times 8 a week.
Yes.
And then just do as much as you can. Just-
But look how many people you touch, how many families that you've reached. That's awesome.
Yeah, and we're also finding out that one of the things to do is, and it's kind of, just be consistent. If I find a family or a group or a couple of people, just be consistent. Keep going to try to reach out to them. And they move often, right? But you
Right.
try to be consistent to let them know that somebody cared. And then I think we've actually got a person, I would like to say whole communities, from that population into our church to at least come see what it's about.
Right. That's good. And you can bring them back to your congregation from church. And I know for Ecclesia, we have teams also. I'm in Team Barnabas. And Team Barnabas, we go out. We do that also. We walk the streets. We go out. We pass out blankets, shoes, whatever, we can do for our community. And, Ecclesia is on Date Street. It's up there on near Paris Park, Paris Hill Park right there. So we can just, go right down the street. And that's where we do a lot of ours. And I know, Pastor, your church is right there across the street from Behavioral Health, San Bernardino.
Yeah, and we don't have to go far. They
Not far at all.
They make their way to our front
Right.
door.
Let's say that.
But I'm wondering
Yes.
what you all think about the new nomenclature that the politically correct people are fostering about not calling the homeless, calling them unhoused. And do you think that the homeless really care?
I think it says the same thing, unhoused, homeless. I'm just saying because the unhoused, homeless, it has the same ring to me. I mean, because we're not really, when I say we, I'm just talking about the government all the United States.
And some people choose to be unhoused. So,
That is something very true.
Yeah.
Studying, getting my doctorate in psychology, we have that topic a lot
yes.
about what program would you implement.
Right.
And I definitely think that Karen Bass is doing a great program.
In Los Angeles.
I love that she's using hotels and relationships with these hotels to, supply housing. And I think that instead of worrying about changing names, that programs should be really definitely implemented. And I hope that, our people now that have been elected officials of the city will start on that because it's in demand. The other thing that's in demand is not only the homeless crisis, but we also have so many abandoned buildings.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, how can you
And they're still building houses.
create?
You have all these abandonments, but
Yeah.
you're still building on top. And so, I don't know.
Right.
It's very interesting.
It is a little interesting, but making some programs that can house these unhoused families.
Yes, yes.
And connect where they're choosing to not go to Salvation Army or to not go to these places that are already futures for them.
Yeah, they do have
programs for them.
family shelters.
The shelters.
I know Riverside has family shelters, and I
Yeah.
know San Bernardino does too. I know, like you said, Salvation Army, but they are cleaning up a lot of the trash. They are cleaning up behind the homeless people, trying to make San Bernardino look a little better. So-
It's so prevalent right now.
Yes, it
So I think really having that ministry is in place is so important, especially with our political connections that will allow us to continue to be effective in cleaning the whole crisis up as a whole.
right.
And then maybe also the abandoned buildings, and maybe somehow it can get some type of
Right.
literacy of life.
Yeah. Well, with the new, local government coming in, prayerfully everything changes and it improves and gets better.
But one of the issues we face on that homeless issue, because we was looking at it, is nobody wants people to move into their neighborhood. I mean, that's a big, if you look at all the municipalities and the cities and the little towns, who wants a homeless shelter that might house 50, 60 people? That's one of the things we're running up against. Nobody wants it in their neighborhood. And it costs money to refurbish these buildings, and it costs people to guard this stuff and
Right.
make it safe, but nobody, that's all, all the bureaucratic stuff. but people wanted it and around. Yeah, we all wanted to see it disappear, but nobody wants it in their neighborhood.
That's something
It takes
to
a
think
lot of
about.
collaboration and a lot of accountability across the board because the average person wants those in government to do something, but when they do something, it will affect the everyday person who lives down the street and around the corner who, as you say, don't want certain aspects changed in their community. So it takes more than legislation. It even takes more than money. It takes a change of heart.
Yes,
Because
yes,
it begins
yes.
with not acting like the people are invisible, like you don't see.
Right. They're there.
When
They're,
Jesus
they're
tells
definitely
his
there.
parables about the least, usually the biggest crime is, trying to act like they don't exist,
Right.
ignoring them, being indifferent, being discompassionate.
Right.
We have plenty of resources
We
to
do.
share,
Plenty
Yes.
of
but it starts with caring.
Right. And I think last time when the Bacas were here, Joe Baca Jr., he did say that, just what you said, we just have to work together, come together, commitment, and just collaborate and, together. That takes more than, like you said, just being out there. So, but yeah. But so it's all interesting. It's all interesting. But there's so much out there. But a lot of resources, a lot of things we can do. And I think you guys are all doing. I think as a group, the churches are doing a wonderful job. I know Ecclesia is. I know your church is. I know New Hope is. And with your dance and at New Hope, oh my goodness, I know you're touching a lot of young people.
Yes, well, I'm thankful for that.
Yes.
Because I didn't always get to dance in New Hope, and then when I got older, I would just dance because I felt like,
Right.
bringing a miracle, being a blessing. And I've always just prayed about my gift and prayed that God, and He gave me such an anointing, why wouldn't you give it back? So
True.
there's other children that have grown up, like Giselle Jackson,
Oh, yes.
Minister Ron, our Ministry of Music Ministry Director Rhonda Jackson MacGyver's daughter, who grew up under me, when he was talking about how the younger people look up to us, and we always just bring it back. And there's a lot of other people that that come home to the congregation that have brought it back to, other than Minister Veronica and Rhonda and me, and
Awesome.
Jeffrey Polk is another one that comes back from time to time to give it back. But
And you also
agree.
have a book, your book that's called A Sample Handbook of Starting a Successful Dance Career.
Yeah.
So how would I start a successful dance career?
So this is how I Dance came about.
Okay.
I wrote it in 2009, and what had happened was, now, I had to do a 5-city tour to find new dancers because Beyonce had reinvented herself. And
Okay.
every artist does. The higher they go, the higher they go, the higher they go. And in the evolution of that, she was getting, becoming Queen Bee, right? So we did this 5-city tour, and in the 5-city tour, there were dancers lined up around the Kona. And
sure.
they were asking me all these questions. And I had went to college and got my BA in dance. Now, I graduated early, but I kind of had the best of both worlds. Because the backup dance world isn't always educated. Show business, even Beyonce will say it herself.
There's always a dark side, like you said.
I give scholarships because I didn't get to get an education. She always
wonderful.
says that.
Right.
That's why she prides it. But I have one. And they would ask me things like, should I leave college if I get this tour? Should I do this? Should I do that? How do I get an agent?
Good
And I
questions.
was like this walking encyclopedia. So later on, things got very quiet. And I just thought, maybe I should write a little handbook.
Oh, nice.
Kind of like The Alchemist, how that's written, and make it really simple. Because, some people don't like to read. So, it would be like something that would be, it's literally this size. And you put it in your dance bag, your purse, and it's easy reading on how to get an agent, build relationships. I even got to talk and interview qualitative research. My friends that are now artistic directors, Brian Friedman, Chloe Arnold, and so many people, Swoop and everyone on their area of expertise. So I would interview them, and then they would say how they give their story.
Right.
And then in the end, I give the input of what this chapter means. So off the top of my head, I can only think of Chloe, but she is a tap dancer. She's a hoofer.
Okay.
And she also is a choreographer and artistic director of a tap company called Syncopated Ladies. So she will hate me for saying this, but she's like the female version of Savion Glover. And she'll be like, no, I'm not. But I'm my own thing. But she started Syncopated Ladies, and through Syncopated Ladies, tap dancing. She is now choreographing all over the world. She choreographed the last Elf movie that was on Apple TV, was a Christmas flick.
Right.
And
Comes
she
on
choreographed that. But 9 times out of 10, if you see tap dancing, it's probably choreographed by her now, right? So we talked about that journey, and if other people wanted to, I couldn't, become successful. Now you can, because now I gave you this person's story. And she had very humble beginnings.
Nice.
From DC. And so we talk about that, and I just ask different people, different aspects of their career, how they got to be where they are.
Where they are now, right?
And as well as I give a little bit of my story, but it's mostly me interviewing other people. And people from like Australia have like emailed me like, can I do a research paper on your book, because you mentioned Brian Friedman, and
Oh, nice.
and Brian Friedman's another big big name in the dance industry. But it needs, I update it every 10 years.
Oh, that's great. That's
So
awesome.
I'll
I know
be
my granddaughter
updating it.
dances, so I'm gonna have to get your book so you can sign it and help. her a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
definitely. I love doing it.
No
yeah.
encouragement,
Yeah.
No personal encouragement, 'cause I know you. Thank you.
Yes. But I did the book as a perspective to have a more business mind instead of us being not very business minded, but very dancer, artistic minded, and egotistic as we could be, and she shouldn't do this and she should do that, and it's like, okay, please just be a good business mind, You could be you can have a dance career. So that's how that came about. And Swimming Over Castles came about as a dream, and I kept having. And a friend of mine said, you should write a children's book, and I didn't write it. And then I had it again, wrote the book as a poem. And it is about self-awareness. It's like Dr. Seuss's All the Places You'll Go. And so I had written it, and I was waiting on publishing and waiting on illustration. And then it dawned on me that everywhere in that book I went with Cirque du Soleil. So I just incorporated my pictures from that tour.
Very
And the
nice.
reason why Swimming Over Castles is so important to me is because when we have these talks about taking books,
Right.
I just read today, they're trying to take I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings.
Wow.
Like, really? So I figured
I love that book.
I'll just
Yeah.
have to keep writing books.
Yeah, I'm thinking they might have to read it again to read just their
Right,
thoughts.
right.
Yeah,
Yes,
like
I
love that.
and like if you can't erase someone's history,
You really
if you
can.
keep writing it.
Well, you know what? That's exactly why we have these Black History programs.
Yes.
Because if you come to this
So-
one right here, we have a
Yeah,
we have a surprise theme, and I let
You
the
can
cat
hold it up so we can.
and I
see it.
let the cat out the bag of our surprise theme is read.
Oh,
Is read
amen.
because we're gonna have a section in there. You get all this information, and we instead of overloading people with information, which will probably happen. But if you want to know more, just go read about it. We can pull it up on these things, but
Are you gonna have a lot of books out there? Different books.
there's so much information on Black history. And we start with the grandfather of Black history.
I have a collection of books, all Black authors.
Yeah.
And I just can't. I know all this media, everything is online now. I just can't get rid of those books. Some books I can. I'm like, oh, I can sit, give them away, I have to hold on to those because to me, like you said, Danielle, that's history.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to erase that history, and I said no. I'm going to keep these books,
Yeah.
you know, and just
Yeah.
pass them down because of that reason.
Well,
Yeah.
you have to.
You have to.
It's devastating because it's no reason for it.
Right. Correct.
You know, America
Wow.
is multicultural, so there's no reason to erase anybody. But furthermore, you know, you write a book, you write a book, you write a book, and then we got more
have more
history.
history.
Yeah, have
And
more
you can't
history.
erase that because we keep writing.
You're so right. You're so true.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
So tell us about your event that you're having this weekend.
My event is a Black History celebration with my friend at Heaven Sent One Stop Shop. It's a creative spa. Now, this is the dynamic woman. Her name is Nikki Rochelle. She actually styled and set designed and did wardrobe for my first film, Amethyst Girl Destiny, which is a short film,
Right, the short film. Yes.
again with therapy in it, about discovering your calling. And it's not always a fashion show. Sometimes it's like, but
Self-care.
you gotta dance it out. But anywho, this boutique, it's such a gift, and it really does make you feel heaven sent. I'm wearing her now, and every time I put on something from there, I feel heaven sent. But it's also a place that I like to perform in. So I am inviting people
And it's
to
in
come.
Riverside?
In Riverside, off of
California?
Market Street,
Okay.
round the corner from the Mission Inn.
Okay.
And we're looking for some open mic poets right now. We have a flautist.
Wow.
I'm going to do Still I Rise and sing a song and talk about Black history. But we're really going to celebrate each other
Absolutely.
and celebrate our creativity, whether it's fashion, whether it's public speaking, and just have a really nice time with good vibe people.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do that because I needed to be creative. And I noticed when I'm just, you know, just doing what I'm supposed to do, that's
Going to school.
being the
and
robot
on
in the
computer
parking
all
lot.
time.
You're right.
All these computerized classes.
Yeah, something kind of feels missing. So
Yeah,
I asked her if I could host something, and
Awesome.
and she's going to let me do that.
Very good.
And that's this Sunday, 3 to 6.
Okay, thank you.
Sound
Yours
like
is Saturday.
Saturday, 4 to 6.
Okay.
You know, yours sound like a hot event. I want to get down
You
there.
better come on in.
Right? I know. Pastors, is anything going on at your church this weekend or this month or Black History celebration?
Well, every Sunday in the month, we have some expression of a Black History celebration, whether it's a spoken word piece or we've been opening up the service with Lift Every Voice and Sing. But our major concentration of the creative arts is on fourth Sunday when the music and the dance and the drama will all come together.
Nice.
And
Charm. I
yeah,
just love
Charm,
that.
Christian Arts
Charm.
Ministry. So
That is
the
so
various elements
beautiful.
of worship all have roots in what our foreparents did in their worship. So sometimes we reach back
Yes.
to the music
And that's
that was sung then, and we adapt what we're doing now. And after the service, the missions ministry transforms the fellowship hall into a museum of sorts where
Oh, my goodness.
there are various displays and traditional foods from various areas of African American concentration, and it's just a great celebration for the whole family, the young people on through to those most senior, because we'll also celebrate our nonagenarians. Each year we celebrate a new class of persons who are turning 90, and then give out various awards to persons in different areas of service, because we think everybody is a history maker,
Absolutely.
not just
Amen.
I
notables.
totally agree.
So it's a good month to draw in and celebrate what has been and what's going on right now.
Awesome. Absolutely. But every day is Black History for
Every
us,
day.
right? Every day.
Yeah,
but, you know, since we have a month that we can actually celebrate and dress the way we want to dress.
Yes.
Right.
Before you know it, it'll be Juneteenth. So
I
we
know.
we can
I
get
know.
right back
Yeah,
at it.
all over again, right? I
Yeah.
know. That is so true. That is so true. But that's great. That's great. So I'm so glad you guys were here with me today. Each one of you were just wonderful. I appreciate it. And I know our viewers are, you know, are out there, and we just thank you for watching. And we miss Orlinda. I know she misses you guys. I know she would have been wonderful. You know, glad to have all of you here today and talk to you. But
And you did a fine job.
Great job.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I just hope, you know, just please send all the letters you can, and let us know what you want us to talk about, and we'll definitely do that. And join us on, we'll send the letters to 150 South Palm in Rialto, and join us on YouTube and Rialto Public Station. And I just thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I'm Kimberly Anthony, and thank you very much.